Good morning, everybody. It is 10 a.m. and we're going to give everybody just about 2 minutes to join and then we'll get started. Appreciate everybody being on time. Okay, good morning. So we're going to go ahead and get started. Thank you so much for joining us as we discuss the recently adopted revisions to the Louisiana accountability system. For many years, the Louisiana Department of Education has been engaged in conversations about the need to reform our school accountability system, to optimize it to ensure that the needs of our children in the state of Louisiana are being met by highlighting the areas where Louisiana is improving and areas where it still needs to improve to benefit our students. On today's call, we're going to go through a variety of information, but we're glad to have with us several assistant and deputy superintendents here at the department. I'm Thomas Lambert. I'm the assistant superintendent for assessment, accountability, and analytics. You're going to hear some from me. You'll also hear from Dr. Jenna Chasson, who is the deputy superintendent for teaching and learning, and Dr. Ernice Singleton, the assistant superintendent for college and career readiness. You'll see this QR code here. It'll take you straight to the department website where you'll find a whole bunch of information about the accountability system, as well as a sign up for email updates on the accountability system and implementation of strategies in order to move student achievement as measured by this accountability revision. Any questions that you ask in the chat, we'll answer in the form of frequently asked questions documents that we'll be posting soon. So we really tried to tailor today's presentation and all the presentations to the specific audience which was going to be with us. So today we're really honored to have so far 101 at least middle school administrators, middle school principals. And in the state of Louisiana, career and tech ed is going to undergo a transformation under this revised accountability system. Rather than being dismantled, it will experience revitalization. The shift will move us away from prioritizing the easiest to earn credentials or IBCs and toward fostering programs that start at a young age, are included at middle school, and roll all the way through high school and post-secondary. CTE leaders have long advocated for school systems to prioritize their programs and align them with economic development. This is the time for CTE to move forward with the intention and focus on developing talent that drives economic prosperity in our parishes. So we're going to start by doing a brief overview of the proposal and its fundamental drivers. First, when we thought about this, we heard a lot from folks that we want to make sure that we have rigorous and high expectations for what our students can achieve. Two, we want simplicity and transparency in what the accountability system measures. And three, we don't want to lose sight of signaling the importance of college and career readiness and aligning that with high expectations Because of that, we knew that we needed to raise the bar for what it meant to be college and career ready in the state of Louisiana. Our goals are pretty clear. All of our students must grow, and we need to be transparent about what % of our students are and are not mastering grade level content. Lastly, when students arrive in high school, we need to make sure that they are ready to make choices about what pathway they wish to be on, what careers they are interested in, and whether college or immediately going into the workforce is the right fit for them. The revised accountability system will, for the first time, recognize when students sign up and join the United States military to serve our country. Creating a simple and transparent accountability system was important to many stakeholders that we talked to. Our current accountability system is far from simple. You need a series of tables and charts in order to calculate any of your results. You have to know whether this is going to get you 25 points, 80 points, 100 points, 150 points for each indicator. You also have to know what percentage each indicator counts for in your formula. And sometimes those numbers don't make a whole lot of sense. It's 20 or 25 or 5. Or 12.5 if you're a high school for some indicators. One of the challenges with all of these different score points is that it creates a whole bunch of different expectations based off of where students are. This becomes challenging. It creates these different goals, and it also becomes confusing about what the indicator is actually measuring. For example, we talk about the assessment index, where in the new accountability revision, the question that it answers is, what % of students are meeting the expectation, which is mastery? The current accountability system really measures how many of your students are at advanced times 150, how many of your students are at mastery times 100, how many are at basic times 80, then doubles the weight of English and math, and then you divide by the total number of tests weighted by the test. That's not simple or transparent, and it's not clear what it's measuring. So like I said, the new system will ask a very straightforward question. What % of our students met the expectation? And in the case of the assessment index, that will be what % of students are at mastery. We worked closely with our college and career readiness team. You may know Bessie and Board of Regents adopted a college and career readiness definition, and we kept that close at hand while we were defining the key expectations within this revised accountability formula. The first one that we'll talk about is growth. As middle school principals, a good chunk of your school's formula is going to be based off of student growth. This is feedback that we've heard from a lot of folks that our current accountability system just didn't recognize the hard work that's being done to move student achievement. In the current accountability system, you know that growth is only measured at 25% of your school's score as an elementary school or a middle school. We're going to flip that, and you're going to see on the next slide that it is weighted at the same amount as student achievement if you just look at LEAP growth, and it's weighted as more than just straightforward student achievement when you look at English language proficiency. So we'll talk about that in a second. Louisiana has long been challenged with educational outcomes that fall far below the national average. Our current accountability system compare student growth to their peers as opposed to having an objective expectation that students grow. The revised accountability system stops comparing kids to their peers and instead says, where have you started? And then we are going to expect you to grow a half an achievement level every year until you reach proficiency. And then once you're proficient, we expect you to grow 1 scale score point a year, or once you score advanced, we expect you to stay advanced. So you'll see this young lady, we show her starting in 3rd grade. She takes her first LEAP test at the end of 3rd grade, and she scores low unsatisfactory. She actually scores the lowest score possible, a 650. The next year, we expect her to grow a half an achievement level. So to go from the lower half of unsatisfactory to the upper half of unsatisfactory. The following year, we expect her to go from the upper half of unsatisfactory to the lower half of approaching basic at least. If she does that every year, no matter where she starts, and this young lady started all the way at the lowest score, when she gets to the end of 9th grade, she will be proficient, she'll be at mastery, and she will be choice ready to choose whether college is where she wants to go, 4-year university is where she wants to go, or she wants to focus in on career skills and exit high school with a credential in one hand and a diploma in the other. Additionally, because this young lady is so far behind, she's probably in the bottom 25% of the students in her school. Because of that, we're going to double the focus on her, and we're going to make sure that she counts twice in the growth measure for the accountability formula. Here you see the scorecard starting to fill in. So since everybody here is a middle school administrator, this is going to be 5 out of the 9 indicators that your school is scored based off of. The first 2 that you see are math and English, and it's just straightforward what percent of students made that amount of progress in math, English. And then you see the next 2 are math and English again, but now it says for the lowest 25% of students. So that young lady was in both the overall population, math or English, and she's going to show up again in that lowest 25%. So essentially, you are doubling the focus on moving her achievement and really helping get her to proficiency. The last thing that you'll see is English language proficiency, which is the percent of students who are meeting their growth trajectory on the English language proficiency test. So 5 out of the 9 indicators that as a middle school you're going to be measured based off of are going to be based off of some measure of how much you improved that student's level of proficiency. Proficiency matters. Just like making real progress every year matters, and we've weighted that substantially more in this formula than in the old formula, mastery is a really important measure for us to get our students to, and we need to be transparent when students are not proficient. We've been able to simplify this achievement measure from being the measure that I described earlier with the 0, 80, 100, or 150 points to the simple question: what percent of students are proficient in that content area? With that, you see the next 4 and actually the completion of a middle school scorecard filled in. You'll see a clear, transparent indication of how students are doing across the measures. You see 5 indicators on the left that tell you what percent of the students that you all have in your schools are being grown. And then you'll see next to it, what percent of students by subject area are mastering grade level content in math, English, science, and social studies. That's the complete K-8 scorecard. If you're a K-8 school, in order to calculate your score, all you do is average those numbers together. It's not a weighted average. It is just every one of those indicators added together and divided by the number of indicators. In this case, it would be divided by 9. This creates the strong foundation for preparing students to be literate, numerate, civic-minded, critical thinkers that will help them when they get to high school to be prepared to choose a post-secondary pathway, either career or college or both. No matter which pathway, these foundational skills are critical to their success in life. And now we're going to have the great opportunity to listen to Dr. Jenna Chasson talk a little bit about options and tools that you all have in your toolkit that are going to help improve student achievement and really help you do well on this formula so that your kids do well in life.
Thanks, Mr. Lambert. Good morning, everyone, and thanks again for joining us. This morning, I wanted to talk to you all about how we as a department are supporting both student achievement and student growth as we strengthen instructional coherence and our leaders and educators in the classroom. So we think a lot about coherence here at the Department of Education, and this slide is really how we are trying to connect the dots within our systems. And so we know schools promote coherence and strengthen learning through high-quality professional learning structures of instructional leadership teams and teacher collaboration. These structures leverage information and resources to build the professional capacity of educators so they are prepared to meet the needs of all students. High-quality instructional materials are one of the most important tools educators use in the classroom to enhance student learning. It's critical that these materials fully align to state standards and are high quality if they're able to provide meaningful instructional support. The new Louisiana Leader Rubric and Louisiana Educator Rubrics clearly define excellence in school leadership and classroom instruction. These are new tools to help educators build essential mindsets and skills that elevate their practice, advance instruction, and in turn, improve outcomes for all students. Current classroom observation and student work and assessment data is critical for high-quality professional learning, decision-making, goal setting, and progress monitoring. Over the past decade, we have implemented initiatives designed to support continuous improvement of teaching and learning. We've prioritized the adoption and implementation of high-quality instructional materials. We've also supported schools with implementing 3 proven strategies that enable sustained high-quality teaching and learning, including instructional leadership teams, teacher collaboration, and building career pipelines. Our new improved educator evaluation system, called LEADS, the Louisiana Educator Advancement and Development System, will build upon and support these initiatives. The process and instructional practices that evaluation supports will be implemented through the structures of instructional leadership teams and teacher collaboration. And it also supports the implementation of high-quality instructional materials. LEADS will provide teachers and leaders with a research-based vision for instructional excellence, promote student outcomes-focused assessment, and provide a structure of professional learning opportunities that are now connected to evaluation. The essence of the new Louisiana Educator rubric is highly effective instruction that results in deep student learning. And highly effective instruction moves beyond just foundational student engagement. The new rubric was developed to support a shift from student engagement to true student ownership of learning. The progression is described across the performance levels of the rubric. While student engagement is often cited as a goal of instruction, it's just one step on the way towards student learning. We want to ensure student engagement and that it goes beyond just, my teacher said I had to do this. And ultimately, we want students to take true ownership of their learning so that they can make their own real life, real world connections and can articulate what they are learning, why they are learning it, and how they will know they are successful. This next slide shows a model of the learning progression. When students are engaged in work doing the learning, the instruction is at the proficient level. The educator is directing the learning for the majority of the lesson, and we would consider this in the Louisiana Educator rubric as rock solid and effective. This would be proficient. But then you'll notice as we move forward in this progression of learning, there's more. Students move to the next level, understanding, where the educator shifts to a more facilitation approach and students begin to shift from just procedurally engaging in the learning to a level of ownership in their learning. Then when we reach level 5, the highest level of the new rubric, the teacher and students co-facilitate their learning and students are truly owning their learning and they're able to share what they have learned, apply and extend their learning, and take responsibility for their learning. LEADS also includes an essential component of follow-up coaching and support. The coaching model is considered a cycle of learning and growth. The professional growth plan, coaching plan, is revisited after each teacher observation. Important to note here that the coaching cycle begins by identifying a student need. The student need should connect to the teacher's refinement goal. There's always a relationship between teacher actions and student learning. For this process, we have to think about how improvement in the refinement area will positively impact student learning. So what is that one thing that could have been done differently during that lesson that would have impacted student learning the most? And that's the refinement area, and that in turn becomes the PGP. We know that students learn best when offered instruction that is coherent, from core grade level instruction to extra time to learn. So we'll dig into that a little more on these next few slides. But I also wanted to mention that LEADS resources can be found on the LEADS library landing page. And a resource that may be especially helpful for you on this call is the guide for school leaders planning for implementation of LEADS. And this is really a step-by-step guide that's chronological over time, really giving some helpful information of what you could be thinking about and doing from month to month around the implementation of LEADS. LEADS will give us a common language and understanding as a state for what high quality instruction and leadership looks like, and this will help to drive greater effectiveness. So now that we've discussed the importance of instructional leadership teams, teacher collaboration, the support provided via LEADS, and how all of those things connect, I want to shift next to a focus on core grade level instruction and extra time to learn. No matter what the extra time is referred to, intervention, when or what I need, or tutoring, it's essential that students are provided with impactful instruction that align to the learning currently taking place during core or is previewing core grade level work. We know that many students enter the middle grades in school with missing knowledge and skills to be successful with grade level work. So extra time to learn is essential, and it can have a huge impact if it delivers what students need and prepares them for core grade level work. I wanted to mention to you all today, in case any of you all may have fifth grade on your campus, as I know some of you do, Act 771 of the 2024 legislative session. And this requires all students in grades kindergarten through 5 who failed to achieve mastery on any statewide assessment in reading or math to be eligible for expanded academic support. And these students must be provided with either prioritized placement in a teacher labeled as highly effective, or to receive high dosage tutoring. And so the Accelerate High Dosage Tutoring Program, which is the name of Act 771, has specific program requirements that are outlined here on this slide. But it is important to note, if some of you already have time within your school day, no matter what you call it, but it's extra time to learn, then this would really just be a way to enhance that time. It shouldn't be used as more time on top of that time that's already identified. And in continuing with expanded support for students, the newly released template for the individual academic support plans covers the expectations of quite a few mandated plans for students. So the new IASP template takes the place of literacy plans, numeracy plans, tutoring plans, the old IAIPs. This is a revised IASP, and it's considered the umbrella student support plan. And so this is created by the teacher, principal, other pertinent school personnel, and of course it has input by the parent or legal guardian. And so this new plan really outlines comprehensive academic support for students, including what happens during their extra time to learn. And finally, on this page, you'll find more information and resources related to high dosage tutoring and expanded academic support for students. If you all have not checked this out, I urge you to do so. We do have tutoring guidance and resources outside of just the early grades. We also have lots of literacy resources available on our website outside of just the early grades. Lots of great resources for students who are struggling readers, who are not reading on grade level, even up through the middle school grades. So check that out if you haven't yet. And we know that focusing on growing our educators to grow students will increase achievement in our state. Our new Louisiana educator rubric and leave system will give us a common language to enhance instructional practices during both core and extra time to learn. So with that, I'm happy to turn it back over to Mr. Lambert.
Thanks, Dr. Chasson. All that information is really great, and we know that it'll help middle school leaders with this accountability system. So no matter where students start, growth is critical. By having a strong focus on student proficiency and student growth, we know that students will reach 10th grade ready to make choices in their post-secondary plans. We're going to take some time now and go through the high school indicators that may not have an impact on you if you have middle school but no high school grades, but we want you to have at least a baseline understanding of them. And then after I go through that material, Dr. Singleton, who leads our college and career readiness team, is going to give you some insight into how that might look on high school campuses and some specific actions that middle schools can do in terms of career exploration and how they can support their high schools when students get to them. Our current grad rate indicator is very complicated. It's multiplied, you take the grad rate multiplied by 0.9. If the school's at 75 or below, it's between 76 and 90, you multiply by 1.11112. And if it is above 90, you get 5 points for every point above 90 you are. So it's a really complicated indicator. The new formula simply asks the question, what % of kids in the cohort graduated on time? The next is the ACT, the old ACT indicator that we are calling the nationally recognized assessment. You'll see that students have to score a 20 or an equivalent on the ACT, on the SAT, or the CLT. All of those are assessments of college readiness accepted by colleges and universities in the United States. Also, a Work Keys Gold or a 59th percentile on the ASVAB. Any of these options are available to any student, no matter what diploma pathway they are on. However, if they're a university pathway student, they have to take one of the college readiness assessments. So they have to take one of the tests other than the work keys and the ASVAB. They have to at least take it to substitute one of the other assessment results. This slide shows the different ways in which a school can earn recognition for accelerating a student on one of these three pathways. Our current accountability system has an indicator that purports to do this. It says it is described as the strength of diploma index, but the reality is that it's 20% of the formula, but 100 out of the 150 points in that formula are actually graduation. So really 50 out, or a third of the points in that 20%. A third of the points in that 20% are actually credential related. The other 2/3 of the points in that 20% are, did the student graduate on time? So about 40% of the schools, of a high school score is, did a student graduate on time? Which looks very different from elementary and middle schools that are measured solely based off of student achievement and student growth. You'll see here that we've created these three accelerator columns. One is high school students showing us that they're ready for college and earning college credit, and you see that in the first column. Or a student saying, I'm going to excel in career, I'm going to earn a high quality industry recognized credential. You see that in the middle column. Or I'm interested in military service, I'm going to apply, join the United States military, be accepted, and sign, and actually go off to the military or be accepted into a service academy. We will talk a little bit more on the next slide about what you see, this work-based learning or internship component in that middle column on the next slide, because that's going to be a phase-in. That's going to be phased in over a period of many years. We're going to start by making it be bonus points in the college and career acceleration indicator. If a school gets 25% of their career accelerating students a work-based learning experience, they're going to get 5 additional points added to that indicator to incentivize and slowly ramp up building out these high quality internships, because we know that work-based experiences pay dividends to young people, starts building their resume, gives them experience with managing some money, understanding what it means to pay taxes, all of those different types of things. So to go through a quick example, if I have 100 students in my school, 50 of my students accelerate on the career pathway, and 13 of my students that are on the career pathway do a work-based learning experience. 13 divided by 50 is greater than 25%. So I'm going to get my 5 bonus points for that. The next year, I got to get to 30%. And the year after that, I've got to get to 35 to keep earning those bonus points. So you see here the complete scorecard for a school that serves high school grades, combination schools, a high school. And you see that it's got those 3 additional measures that we just talked about on the right-hand side. If you're doing the math here, a high school currently gets 25% of their points from their graduation rate. This is now going to be 1/12. So you're seeing the weighting of this starting to shift away from the graduation rate, which is a much higher score, right? When you look at your assessment results and your percent mastery, you actually see that the graduation rate is a much higher number. The state average is like an 84, while the proficiency rate in ELA is 43.9. So you're starting to see a formula that's looking a lot more similar across elementary and high school in terms of the spread of the points that are available. So elementary, middle, and high school scores are going to look more similar, and it's a much more straightforward calculation. All you do is average it together, and that gives you the result. And with that, we are going to hand this off to Dr. Ernice Singleton, who leads our college and career readiness team.
Thank you, Mr. Lambert, and good morning, everyone. The Office of the Career and College Readiness stands ready to assist school systems and schools this academic year as you prepare for the launch of Grow, Achieve, and Thrive. As Mr. Lambert indicated earlier, this portion of the presentation, the implications for middle school principals with regards to Thrive, is not something that is going to affect you all a whole lot, but it'll give you some idea of how you should be preparing your students as they enter high school. So on the next slide, this is one point that I really want everyone to hear and understand. The revised accountability system is a fundamental shift in our way of thinking. As you listen to how to implement the Thrive portion of the revised accountability system, don't think of graduation requirements. Think of providing opportunities for students to accelerate or increase their learning in a pathway that they choose. High schools will provide opportunities for students to engage in dual enrollment, test prep, and advanced placement or international baccalaureate opportunities. At the middle school level, ensuring your students are academically prepared and are aware of these opportunities is important to prepare them for this decision as they enter high school. We also have the Career Accelerator. The practical implications for middle school include making sure that a strong foundation in literacy and numeracy it prepares the students for success in technical courses at the high school. Building strong skills in problem solving and teamwork in the early years will allow for acceleration in these technical programs. As you work with your building administration on programming, perhaps include extracurricular activities or in clubs, consider career exploration activities. Also, career exploration activities can be embedded in classes to ensure that students begin to understand the job opportunities available in their communities. Educators in middle schools should be aware of the career and technical education opportunities available at the high school campus the students may be attending. This will enhance the instruction in middle school. The final accelerator is the Service Accelerator. This is earned by the presence of a military acceptance letter or acceptance to one of the 5 military academies. Being aware of the opportunities afforded students entering the military is excellent knowledge to have. I encourage you to seek out military recruiters and include them in your career exploration activities. During the middle grades, students should be exposed to various careers and academic programs. It's important to be aware and expose them to high-wage, high-demand career opportunities in your communities. Doing so will allow students to be prepared to select a career path during high school to explore and provide them with the knowledge of what local opportunities are available in their own communities. The Louisiana Workforce Commission has resources available to assist with career exploration. The professional school counselor in the middle school plays an integral role in Thrive, just as the high school counselor does. They should be collaborating and interacting with counselors at the high school to understand the opportunities that will be available to students. This will allow them to provide meaningful career and academic exploration as they leave your campus to the high school. Now I'll pass it back to Mr. Lambert to close out the presentation.
Thanks so much, Dr. Singleton. In fall 2024, the department will set cut scores on 3 scales. One for elementary and middle schools, one for schools serving high school grades, and district scores. So there will be 3 different scales. The simulated data will be used to set the maximum and minimum score for an A, B, C, D through F. These scales will be frozen in fall of 2024 through the release in 2026. Schools across the state will, because of this, know their score, where they are under the simulation before the scores come out, and be able to set goals, targets, and plan to say, I am here, I am a B, I want to be an A, and this is what I need to do in order to get there. In any year after 2026, when over 50% of the schools on that scale earn an A or a B, the scale will go up by 5 points until we reach a standard 10-point scale. So we're starting by creating a scale through a distribution so that we can set what the expectation is for an A, and that's going to be the top 10% in 2024. And then we're going to use that number, not the percent, to say this is the cutoff for an A. And then anybody that reaches that score between 2025 and 2026 will be rated an A. The first time the scale could change again would be in 2027, after we release the 2026 results if 50% of the schools in the state, or an additional 20%, if you add 10 and 20, 30 and 20 gets you to 50, you'd have to see a significant increase in the number of A's and B's for that scale to change. And then it'll change by 5 points for the following year to give you time to plan, adjust, address, and meet the new expectations. This SPS change by year table we've been told is really helpful. It shows you that in the fall of 2024, there will be no changes to the SPS formula. It's unchanged from 2023. LDOE will issue cut scores by simulating what you would have gotten if the new formula had been in effect using your prior year data. And we're going to issue that simulated data and those cut scores to you. So you're going to know in the fall of 2024 what it's going to take to earn an A, a B, a C, or a D under the revised formula. Then in fall of 2025, we're still going to be under the old formula. It's going to be unchanged. We are also going to simulate scores in the fall of 2025 for you. You're going to have that with your official results. So you'll be able to see, this is what I had in 2024. This is what I would have in 2025. And here's how much farther I have to get to that next letter grade up that I'm trying to target. Fall of 26 will be the first year of the new system. We will release the scores based off of the revised formula. And the cut scores will be based off of those scores that were set in 2024. So no changes to those cut scores. You set your target based off 2024, and we're gonna get there by 2026. We will release both the revised formula and a simulation of the old formula so that you have both of those in 2026. And then in the fall of 2027, we will be completely on the new formula. We will no longer be simulating the old formula, and cut scores could have increased if we had gotten to 50% or more A and B in 2026. So with that, we are excited that you were able to join with us today. This QR code will take you exactly to where it took you at the beginning of the presentation. You can always reach out with questions. Assessment@la.gov is your friend. A group of great folks, including Dr. Jennifer Baird and her team, and sometimes me, hop in there and respond to questions that people get. We try to be really timely and responsive. We're here to help. So thank you so much for joining us. And this will be posted on our YouTube channel, and we're always here to answer questions. So thank you so much for joining us, and I hope you have a wonderful start of the school year.